Welcome to Rewrite the Story. I am Ron Simplified Myers, your uplifting life partner. And today I want to start with something that I have seen in almost every man who has walked through significant loss. Something that does not get talked about enough. Something that costs more than most people realize. The performance. Not the performance on a stage. The performance of being okay when you are not. The performance of having it together when everything inside you is still in pieces. The performance of strong when strong is the last thing you actually feel. The daily act of showing the world a version of yourself that is holding it together while the real version, the one that is scared and tired and still reaching for something that is no longer there, stays hidden where nobody can see it. I know that performance. I wore it myself. After 32 years with the woman I loved, after losing her, I know exactly what it costs to stand in front of the world and perform fine when fine is nowhere near the truth. I know the weight of it, the loneliness of it, the way it isolates you from the very people who want to help because they can only respond to what you show them, and what you are showing them is not real. Today we are going to talk about being real, what it means, what it costs to avoid it, and how giving yourself permission to be authentic, even in the middle of grief, is not weakness. It is the beginning of everything. I want to name something that most men learn very early in life, and that is that emotions are a liability, that vulnerability is a risk, that the way you earn your place in the world, as a son, as a husband, as a father, as a man, is by being solid, by not wavering, by carrying what needs to be carried without letting anyone see how heavy it is. That message gets delivered in 1,000 different ways over the course of a lifetime. Some of it is said out loud. Most of it is absorbed quietly from watching the men around us and learning what is acceptable and what is not. And then loss shows up. And loss does not care about the performance. Loss cracks things open that the performance was holding together. And suddenly you're standing in the middle of emotions that are bigger than anything you were ever trained to handle, and you have no tools for it because the only tool you were ever given was hold it together, stay solid. Do not let them see you fall apart. And so you perform harder, with more effort than anything you have ever done, because the alternative, being real about what you're actually going through, feels like the most dangerous thing in the world. But here's what I know. The performance is costing you more than the vulnerability ever would. When you perform, you use energy. You do not have to maintain a version of yourself that is not even real. When you perform, you cut yourself off from the people who could actually help you, because they are responding to the performance, not to you. When you perform long enough, it becomes automatic and you lose track of where the performance ends and the real you begins. And that losing track of the real you is one of the most disorienting things a human being can experience. Being real does not mean falling apart in front of everyone. It does not mean performing your grief for an audience. It means giving yourself permission in at least one space, with at least one person, or even just alone in the quiet, to stop pretending. To say this is actually hard. I am not actually fine. I am carrying more than I know how to carry, and I do not have a plan for how to put it down. That honesty, even when it is just with yourself, is where healing begins. Let me give you 3 things I want you to practice this week around being real. The first is the honest morning check-in. Every morning before you start the performance, before you put on the face the world gets to see, take 2 minutes and ask yourself honestly how you actually are. Not how you're going to say you are, how you actually are. Name it. I am grieving today. I am angry today. I am tired in a way that sleep does not fix today. I am lonely in a way I do not know how to describe today. Just name it. Nobody else has to hear it. The naming is for you because a feeling that gets named loses some of its power over you. And a man who knows how he actually feels has already taken the first step toward being real. The second is finding one person you can be unedited with, not the whole world, just one, a friend who has earned it, a group of men who are walking similar roads, a journal that has no audience, one space where the performance is not required, where you do not have to measure your grief or manage how it lands or make sure the other person is comfortable with what you are feeling. One space where you can just be where you actually are. If you do not have that space yet, finding it is your assignment this week, because isolation dressed as strength is one of the loneliest and most expensive places a man can live. The third is separating being real from being weak. This is the reframe that changes everything for most men. Being real is not the opposite of being strong. It is what strength actually looks like when it is honest. The man who can say, I do not know how to do this and I need help, that man is stronger than the one who performs certainty he does not have. The man who can sit in a hard feeling without running from it or burying it. That man has more courage than the one who stays too busy to feel. Being real is not falling apart. It is being present with what is actually true. And presence, even with the hard things, is one of the most powerful things a human being can practice. I want to close with something I carry from my own journey. There was a season after I lost her where I was so committed to the performance that I did not even know I was doing it anymore. It had become the default. And what broke it open, slowly, imperfectly, was a moment alone in the quiet when I stopped doing long enough to feel. And what I felt in that moment was not weakness. It was real. And real, even when it is painful, is always the beginning of something true. You are allowed to be real. In fact, the rewrite cannot begin until you are, because you cannot rewrite a story you are not willing to read honestly first. You are not broken. Your story is, and stories can change, but they start with the truth. Thank you for being here with me on Rewrite the Story. I am Ron, Simplified Myers, your uplifting life partner. Share this episode with a man who has been performing strength for too long and needs permission to be real. Come back every Monday because we are just getting started. And most important, remember, you are extraordinary.